What's up, friends? You're listening to the greatest sports guru ever, self-proclaimed, of course. Yours truly, Will Walker, and this is my sports podcast, Will's Take on Sports. The wild card games were wild last weekend. Going to get into that a little bit on this podcast. Also, going to talk about the national title game between Dabo's Tigers and the evil empire led by the Dark Lord himself, Nick Saban. Tom Thibodeau got fired from the Wolves. He's no longer dancing with the Wolves, so he's gone. That's interesting. That really is. Jimmy Butler goes. Him and Jimmy Butler have a struggle in the offseason, and Tom Thibodeau leaves after he trades him. Tom Thibodeau leaves after he trades Jimmy Butler. That's weird. But anyway, all right, going to preview this weekend's the F, and the L playoff games. I wonder if Slick Nick can keep up his mojo for the Eagles. I'm going to talk about that also. All right, after the sound of the music, the podcast will get thick. So let's go. All right, national title game, the mythical national title, that +1 game that happened in San Francisco last Monday night. The Clemson Tigers, 44. The evil empire, the Alabama Crimson Tide, 16. No one saw that coming, not that beatdown. I mean, of course, Clemson had the opportunity to win, truly believe that. But them to beat down Alabama like that, did not see it coming. Did not see it coming. The rookie freshman, Trevor Lawrence, unbelievable in that football game. I'm going to give him a Simply the Best performance a little later on when I do Simply the Best. But anyway, speaking of Clemson, now they've won 2 national titles in this playoff era. Alabama's won 2. You know what's interesting about the this college football +1 game, or as they call it, I call it the +1 game. That's really all it is. It's the bowl games +1. And anyway, since they've gone to this in 2014, no team that was rated the number 1 seed has ever won. Never. That is extremely interesting that the team that goes into this tournament has not won that +1 game. That's unbelievable. But anyway, I think Clemson really proved that they were just as equal as Alabama all year. They may not have gotten the love like Dabo Swinney said as far as being in the conversation for greatest team ever with the 15-0 finish. All everybody talked about was Alabama. 15-0, they'd be the greatest team ever. But Clemson has the greatest record ever. I'm not going to give them the greatest team, but they have the greatest tie for the greatest record ever anyway. At 15-0, they were able to, Trevor Lawrence looked like a fifth-year senior with what he was doing. Their defensive line was legit. They just hounded Tua when they got down in the red zone. Yes, Alabama was able to move the ball most of that game, but when they got down to the scoring position or the red zone, as they call it, they just bogged down. They really did. And I think it was evident from that first drive when he threw that pick 6 that Clemson came to play. And they just seemed they had a lot of determination, a huge chip on their shoulder to prove that they did belong in this game with Alabama. They did not deserve to be 7-point dogs. And they just went out there and took it to them. And it was really evident from early in that game that, man, this is going to be, if Alabama don't get their act together, Clemson's going to hand it to them. I didn't think they handed it to them by 28 points, but it looked as if Clemson would hand it to them just basically because of how hard they were playing, how well they were executing on the offensive end. Again, the quarterback was just amazing. Got some outstanding catches, even when he was off the mark by that young wide receiver. So, and Alabama's DBs are not as good against quality opponents as they've been in the past. They got young corners, a couple of South Florida guys. And let me get into this South Florida thing real fast before I move on to the NFL and what happened in their wild card weekend. A lot of people from South Florida are upset that South Florida kids are departing Miami, departing the area and not going to the local school, Miami, and giving their commitment and playing their college ball there. Listen, this is not something that is really a new thing. There's been programs coming into South Florida and rating, especially from the SEC, and rating South Florida for years. Now, in the numbers that they've been going out over the last couple of years since Miami's been down, maybe not, but there still has been South Florida guys leaving the area, especially those that are rated high by the recruiting services or highly regarded by the recruiting services. They've been leaving South Florida, so this is not nothing new. Until Miami is able to get themselves back to the situation to where they're always in the conversation for playing for national titles, you cannot blame kids for leaving. You just can't. I know a lot of Miami fans like, how can they leave? That's their home school. Forget that mess. With internet, all these games on TV, the recruiting pitch or the recruiting pitch that your parents or your family will be able to see you play, almost every weekend is gone because of television and internet. Basically, every game's on TV or every game's on the internet or every game could be seen. So that argument is out the window. Miami's just got to win. I keep hearing all about this bag stuff and all. Man, Miami used to cheat too. That is not nothing. Miami used to cheat, Florida State used to cheat, Florida used to cheat. They all used to cheat. All the big three that's in the state of Florida that has been missing out on these kids and haven't had, only Florida State has had representation in this college football playoff era thing that they have. Only Florida State, and that was the very first one. So until those schools hire strong recruiters that turn those strong recruiting classes into positive results and national championship prominence results, they're going to keep missing out on the elite Florida kids. They're going to keep leaving the state in droves. They're just going to keep leaving. I mean, you can't blame these kids. Miami missed on two big kids last weekend, one from Florida and one from South Miami. One kid went to Alabama to play because Alabama's the it school, and another kid went to Georgia because Georgia's the up-and-coming it school. So it is what it is. Miami's just got to do what they got to do. They got to get underrated kids that haven't been scouted or haven't gotten the star ratings or whatever, and then move and then coach them up. Coach them up. They need some kids that are hungry. Coach them up, get them and put them and again, get kids that are hungry. And then that'll probably, that'll get Miami to the point. I mean, that 10-win season starting out 10-0 was great for Mark Richt. But, again, there was the efficiencies and flaws. And another thing Miami needs to do is get a quarterback. Now, that they just hired the quarterback's coach from Alabama. I can't think of his name, so I'm not going to butcher it. But they hired him. So that may mean Jalen Hurts may come because he's in the transfer market. He can be a graduate transfer, which means he could play right away. So maybe he comes, maybe he doesn't. But if he doesn't, they need to coach up the quarterbacks they got. Two of those kids were rated 4 stars. Very highly recruited kids. So they need to coach them up, get these kids, and also get a more innovative, modern offense. And so that's probably what Manny Diaz was looking at when he decided to go with the guy from Alabama's off of Alabama staff that was the quarterback's coach, and now he's the offensive coordinator with the U. So we'll find out how that goes. All right, let me go ahead and talk about what happened last weekend in the wild card round regarding the NFL tournament. The Colts and Andrew Luck winning the Luck's hometown in Houston, and they won. They played an outstanding game. Listen, like I had predicted before in the preview for the wild card round, I said Houston's in trouble. I think Andrew Luck and the Colts are a much better team. They seem to be a more complete team, and I wasn't shocked by the result. The only result that shocked me from last weekend was what Saint Nick and Slick Nick and the Eagles were able to do against the Bears. I thought the Bears defense would be able to shut them down. I didn't think the Eagles were able to do anything. They were down at running back with all the injuries in the secondary, but yet the Eagles showed the heart of a champion. Now with Nick Foles at quarterback, the last 2 seasons they won 4 straight games. They're now 4-0. Maybe they can go 5-0 against the Saints. The Saints have their own problems, not their own problems, but their own disappointment from last season. You know about the play that happened when the young man caught the ball on the sideline and the safety dove at his feet and had his head down, and the kid just turned around and just went to the end zone. Stephon Diggs did. So we'll find out. in regards to what's going to happen later. Got to give some love to Lamar Jackson. There were boo birds coming out in Baltimore during that game between the Chargers and the Ravens. It's interesting how fans are strictly whatever you done for me lately. Yeah, the kid was struggling for the first 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter comes. He turns on. He throws 2 touchdown passes to Crabtree. The Ravens have an opportunity to get back in the game. They got back in the game, but they had an opportunity to win. They didn't. They weren't able to. So the Chargers were able to close out and move on to play against the New England Patriots. That's going to be an interesting matchup. I'm going to give you my take and what I think about that matchup coming up between the Chargers and the Patriots. So just moving right along, and then of course, Dallas. I didn't pick Dallas last weekend. I thought Seattle would be able to handle them. Again, a late comeback, sort of like what happened between the Ravens and the Chargers. Russell Wilson tried to get them back, but they didn't. They weren't even having. Sebastian Janikowski got hurt, and they weren't able to kick field goals or kick extra points, but they were getting those 2-point conversions. But where they needed him really to give them the opportunity to get the onside kick, they couldn't. The kid kicked the ball about 30 yards. So they had no chance for that onside kick. But anyway, I did not pick the Cowboys. But they went on ahead to pull the upset. So I went 2-2 last weekend in regards to the NFL wild card round. Hey, it is what it is. Like I said, I might be right. I might be wrong. It is what it is. All right, let me go ahead and get into what I do. You know what it's called. It's called Simply the Best. You're simply the best. All right, Simply the Best performance goes. Of course, I'm going to go with old slick Nick Foles and what he was able to do last week in Chicago. 262 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. But he also did throw 2 balls to the wrong team. But hey, they were able to still pull off the win, even though it was, basically because the kicker for the Bears didn't do his job, hit the upright and hit the bottom crossbar. So, hey, it is what it is. But, hey, the object of the game is score more points, and the Eagles score more points. Let's see if they can keep that up this week against the Saints. Trevor Lawrence and what he was able to do in the national title game, got to give it to him. Again, true freshman, 2 more years, basically because of the NFL rules, he's not able to turn pro. Everybody keeps saying he would be the number 1 pick if he was. This kid's just 19 years old, but he's very poised. He has, he looks the part of a once in a generation type quarterback. He definitely has it. He's a local kid out of Georgia. So kudos to him. The kid said at least 3 more national titles, which means he must love college because he's not thinking about the pros. Everybody else is, but he's not. But that's funny. But anyway, he thinks he can win at least 3 more national titles, and I think if that team stays healthy, they may get maybe 1. I don't see them getting 3, but they may get it maybe 1 because you never know what'll happen in football with injuries. That's the main thing. Also, got to give us Simply the Best real quick. The James Harden of the NBA for the Houston Rockets. Again, another 40-point another 40 points scored with a triple-double. James Harden is what it is. He is an outstanding regular season player. He just does not come up big in big moments in the playoffs. Even when he was with the Oklahoma City Thunder and they went up against my Miami Heat in the 2011 NBA Finals, the 2012 NBA Finals in that, I guess you could say, strike or lockout shortened season. He came up short in the NBA Finals. He had a horrible finals against the Miami Heat. And then if you look at what happened against Greg Popovich a couple of years ago, I think that was Game 6. The San Antonio Spurs were able to just really handle him. They were able to shut him down. Of course, they had probably the game's premier perimeter defender in Kawhi Leonard when he was a Spur. But again, James Harden came up short. And then last season in Game 7 against the Golden State Warriors, again, came up short in the most pivotal moment that superstars usually take over. Again, James Harden is an outstanding regular season player, and the MVP is a regular season award. So, yes, if you're saying that he deserves it, okay, yeah, based upon the regular season. But again, he has come up short. When I was a kid, and watching basketball and stuff like that, I learned something in 1985. The L.A. Lakers acquired Bob McAdoo. And I remember the announcer saying, the one thing that most NBA champions have, or most teams that get to the NBA finals have, they have great coaching. And the one thing that the playoffs requires, I learned this as a kid now in 1985, that it requires coaches to be able to make adjustments. And that's how you can tell if a guy's a great coach or has the potential to be a great coach or a good coach or whatever. Yes, the team and the talent is great, but can he make adjustments when he plays against another great team? Because that's usually what happens in the NBA Finals, especially in the 80s. That's all what happened when we saw Boston and the Lakers repeatedly going up against one another. So when I look at James Harden and his losses, he's lost to Eric Spoelstra. What does Eric Spoelstra does? He makes great game-to-game adjustments. His in-game adjustments at that time were not very good, although he's improved over the years. But game-to-game adjustments by Eric Spoelstra were great. So that's how the Heat were able to neutralize James Harden in that 2012 NBA Finals. Plus, Eric Spoelstra is what? He was on Pat Riley's staff. So he's basically a Pat Riley protege. And then you could look at Greg Popovich going up against James Harden. What he does, make adjustments to slow James Harden down and Mike D'Antoni's offense. And then you look at Steve Kerr, who should be considered a great coach given all the quality coaching that he's played for. Phil Jackson, he's played for Greg Popovich. He's got some of their influence in him with his coaching style, but he's also got very talented players. But most of that team was there when Mark Jackson was there, and they weren't able to get to the NBA Finals and win. But when Steve Kerr came in, and plus the guys matured a little bit. So, I mean, timing was everything. But still, Steve Kerr's he's made amazing adjustments when they needed it, and he showed that he is a great coach, given the fact that, hey, Houston had him, and Houston had the home court. But, hey, the Warriors were able to handle the Rockets in Game 7, plus the Rockets shot all them bricks in Game 7. But anyway, let's move on. All right, let me get into what's going to happen in the N and the F and the L this weekend in regards to the NFL divisional round. All right, first game up is going to be on Saturday. Will be the Indy Colts going to Kansas City to play in that game. Listen, Kansas City has lost their last 2 home playoff games in the divisional round. The first year, but Alex Smith was the quarterback. Last year they lost to the Tennessee Titans. So, and then the previous year before that they lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we're gonna see can they break that 2-game snap and finally get a win in the division round. And if they do, they will be hosting the AFC Championship game. We will see what Kansas City can do. I like what Pat Mahomes has done. Again, over 5,000 yards, 51 touchdowns. He should be the NFL regular season MVP. He's definitely put up the stats for it, and plus he's on the best team in the AFC. And Kansas City was one of the better offensive teams all year. Their defense is leaky. Let's see how they're able to hold Indy and their balanced offense. T.Y. Hilton, Andrew Luck. Again, that defense from Indy is opportunistic. They're a very quality defense. Their defense is definitely better than Kansas City. Can Kansas City defense make enough stops against Indy? I don't think so. I'm going to go with the upset and say Kansas City loses for the 3rd year in a row at home in the divisional round, and I'm going to go ahead and go with the Indianapolis Colts. That's right. I'm picking an upset. All right, going into the next game, Dallas and the LA Rams. Dallas is definitely have the defense. Their linebackers are awesome. Jalen Smith and Vandersloot are very good athletic linebackers. Let's see how healthy Todd Gurley is. Again, the Rams are also a team lost last season, had a great season, lost in the in the wild card round to the Atlanta Falcons. Dak Prescott is inaccurate as heck. He really is, but he makes the plays. He makes the necessary plays when they need to be made. But it's just amazing how up and down he can be in the course of a football game. Ezekiel Elliott's going to be the key. Will he be able to carve up this porous Rams run defense? Will Ndamukong Suh finally make an appearance for this team? He has not all season. Aaron Donald has been remarkable on that defense line. They got some other guys that they picked up. It's a star-studded defense that just doesn't play like a star-studded defense. They play like a like a real average to poor defense. They're not very good statistically. They're not very good against the run. It's going to be up to Ndamukong Suh to be able to really, this all depends on him. In my opinion, Aaron Donald's going to do his thing. He's done it through double teams. Ndamukong Suh's had one-on-ones most of the year, and this is something that when he first came into the league and a little brief stint with the Miami Dolphins, he was able to do good. He's only played in 3 playoff games. He's got decent stats in those 3 playoff games, but he hasn't won one. Can he get a win today with the LA Rams? With the Dallas Cowboys coming to town, Dallas might have the home field in this game. You know how that Dallas Cowboy following is. So Again, I'm going to go with an upset. I'm going to go with Dallas. I know the Rams have motivation for what happened last year. They want to, I guess you could say, redeem themselves from that loss. But I'm still going to go with the upset. I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys pulling the upset over the LA Rams in LA. So 2 weeks in okay. So another wild card team is going to go on and advance, in my opinion. All right, going on to the Sunday matchups with the Chargers going up against the Pats. You know, New England has only lost one divisional playoff game since 2010, and that was in 2010 to the New York Jets. They have been unbelievable in this round at home. But I think they lose. Again, I really do. I do not think New England and Tom Brady, they don't have a wide receiver, no Josh Gordon, no wide receiver that can stretch the field consistently. Phillip Rivers from the U-Pro Cane, love that boy all day, every day. You know how I feel about my Hurricanes, but he has not been a good pro. I don't think he's going to make a difference today. Cordell Patterson is a one-trick pony. He's really a return guy. He's not really a quality receiver. Julian Edelman is a slot guy. He doesn't threaten you down the field. Gronkowski doesn't threaten you down the field. Let's see what Sony Michel is able to do at running back. If the Patriots can get a solid running game, going against that very good Chargers defense. Again, the Chargers have a very good defense, led by Joey Bosa and the rookie Derwin James. They played a quality game last week in another northeastern city in Baltimore. Let's see if they can do the same thing in Boston this week. I'm going to go ahead again and go with the road dog on this one. I'll go with the road team. I'm going to go with the Chargers. I just think Anthony Flynn and his Chargers are just a better team. They're a more complete team. Again, they are a wild card team that could have easily won their division. But again, Kansas City had the season that they had, and the Chargers lost the game to them. So, hey, that's why they would end up in the wild card. But I think they are much better than the New England Patriots. Yes, the Patriots have rest. Yes, Tom Brady is considered the greatest of all time. But I don't think he has the receivers on offense to really hurt this team. New England's been shaky on defense at times this year. They were shaky even against the Miami Dolphins. I mean, they have not been the New England team that has been dominant since the turn of the century. But this is a home game. The game is in Foxborough, but I still do not like them winning this ball game. I'm going to go ahead and go with the Chargers. So I picked 3 road teams in a row so far. All right, let me go to the final game that's going to happen on Sunday. The Eagles and the Saints. The Saints are coming off their own disappointment from last season. We know what happened at the end of that ball game in Minnesota. They played a very good game. The Eagles are a team that, man, they have got to be riding great fortune. I'm not going to call it luck. It's just great fortune. And a lot of times good teams make their own luck. They create their own opportunities. And that's what this team has done for 4 straight playoff games with Slick Nick at quarterback. I think their luck runs out now. I think the Saints are able to get the redemption. I like what Sean Payton did to try to get his guys motivated with bringing the Lombardi Trophy in and the water cash and all that type of thing that he did this week, try to get his guys inspired. Plus, I think they're going to be super motivated for what happened with them again last year in Minnesota. I think the Saints will go on and move on and go ahead and host the NFC championship game next Sunday. So I'm going to go ahead and just say this will be the only home win for any team as far as the NFL divisional round. All right, that's my preview for the NFL divisional round. That's what it is. You see, I went again with 3, like I did last weekend, 3 road teams to pull off the win, and only one team to get the home win, and that's the Saints. Made that same prediction last week. Got 2 right, missed 1. So, hey, it is what it is. All right, so that is my show. Let me go ahead and get the band striked up so I can go ahead and get up out of here. I want to thank you all so much for giving me your devoted attention and downloads. I really appreciate my loyal listeners. I appreciate the positive emails. Again, I said I'm going to try to make sure I do a sports podcast at least once a week. I would definitely try to do that. I really appreciate all the love and all the support. Again, you can contact me at my email at walkershow@yahoo.com. Just drop me a line, let me know how you like the show. And if you have any negative feedback, I read those also. Also, you can follow my show on Twitter and Instagram at the same handle, WWS_sports show. That's WWS_SPORTSSHOW. WWS_sports show. Also on Facebook, you can follow me. Will's Take on Sports. That's Will, WIL_STAKE. Take on SPORTS Sports. Thank you guys so much. Again, I'll come to you next week after all the games I played, give you my take on sports, any other big time action that's happening in sports, and I'm going to recap what happened in the NFL divisional round and go ahead and preview the conference championship games. Listen, say a prayer for somebody because prayer changes things. I holla.